Hi there, and welcome to another CAD how-to video. I've got something a little different in mind today. I have been bombarded by social media advertisements for a fairly new CAD system called Onshape. And I don't know much about it beyond the ads, and I read a little bit on the website to sort of see what they offer, that kind of thing. Rumor is that it was developed by some of the original developers of SolidWorks way back, and it's an entirely browser-based system, so no software to download. They offer free accounts with the caveat that you can't use it for commercial purposes or, um, well, I shouldn't say or, and your designs are sort of placed into a public part pool. So those two things come with the free. They also offer paid subscriptions. One of the things that I signed up for, and so I don't know, and again, I'm new to this. This is sort of a first look kind of video. I've never been in here before. I don't know how sort of this interface looks for every account. What I did was I actually signed up as an instructor with a .edu account, and they offer free .edu licenses as well. So that's the way I did it. I can't imagine things would look too different for sort of general accounts. You might not have the things for educator over here or classes up in the menu and that sort of thing. But anyway, that's where we stand. We'll sort of take a first look, see how it compares to SolidWorks, which is kind of my favorite, and see if it's a worthy replacement. One of the things I always like to say when we're talking about CAD is the geometry behind any CAD system is the same, right? Geometry is geometry. When we're extruding parts, when we're making holes, subtracting solid material from solid material, that kind of stuff, the math that runs under the hood of all these CAD systems is identical. And then it really comes down to personal preference as far as is the user interface sort of the way that we like it? Does it have the tools that we use commonly? In the case of SolidWorks, is it good for what we are using it for? Now, my personal opinion is that when it comes to like machine design, the stuff that I use it for is it is the stuff that I use it for. It's SolidWorks is like the best. But what it's not very good at is if I were to get into very complex curves, and I like to use the example of like automotive body panels. Some of the editing and some of the tools that it has in that area aren't very strong in my opinion. But for tooling, which again is what I use it for, it's awesome, and I wouldn't recommend anything else. Um, but I wanted to take a look at this because again, it's free. SolidWorks gets kind of pricey. And I mean, they do have paid versions of Onshape, I noticed, but uh, so we'll take a look. So I haven't done much except create the account and log in. On the way to this sort of home page were a couple of pop-ups. One asked me about units, and I left it in imperial, inches, pounds, and seconds. But then one of the things that I really like is it asked how I wanted my mouse mapped, and I actually didn't click through all of the decisions, but one sort of the default looked like what I'd be used to for something like Cura, the 3D slicing software, um, where the left mouse button kind of rotates your model, stuff like that. The option that I selected though allows me to map my mouse the same way that SolidWorks uses it, and that's sort of the one that I stopped on. I don't know if there are other CAD systems in that little dialog box, but with those two little dialog boxes, I'm here, and I've never been here before. Again, I've got menus over on the left side. It looks like I might be able to create classes and stuff in the future to actually use this software, as part of classes, maybe with exercises. So that's something I'll be taking a look at later. But for now, I just want to see if we can't create an assembly, maybe some drawings, and see how this thing works. So again, all browser-based, no downloads. But it looks like this center sort of description here. It looks like in Onshape everything's going to live under a document, and I've got to create a document thing over here. So I'll go ahead and create a document, and let's go with my old tried and true two plates and some screws assembly just for grins, and we'll see how it does. So let's start out as usual. Well, if the document is the whole design, assembly, and all, let's call it two plate tutorial. Kind of boring. Um, I'll expand out later, in later videos and stuff with better. So this is the main I've got my name up here. I've got a feature manager over on the left. I've got a bunch of tools along the top, planes in the front. My center wheel, if I click it, should allow me to rotate just like in SolidWorks. That looks good. We've got a little bit of lag that SolidWorks doesn't have, at least on a good computer. But honestly, I'm not too worried about that because again, the benefit of being completely browser-based and free sort of outweigh, I mean, really whatever lag this thing could throw at us. And I'd be willing to bet, since their servers are doing most of the actual work, I'd be willing to bet that as we get more and more complex, where SolidWorks starts to slow down, that this thing probably stays the same. So that would just be an assumption. But so let's go ahead and start. And I would start by creating, let's select our top plane and creating an extrude. So faces and sketches. So it wants a sketch first. So I'm going to go ahead and close out of that. That's okay. I mean, SolidWorks would allow us to create the sketch in the extrude, but another workflow, you can sketch in SolidWorks first and then create your extrusion or revolve or that kind of thing. So it's not a deal breaker so far. Top plane. Okay, we didn't auto orient, but I noticed up here in the upper right, I've got a view cube. So I'm going to go ahead and orient this to the top. So I'm looking down at my sketch. Let's grab a rectangle, lock that to the origin, drag it out. Okay, we've got black and blue just like we're used to. I can click and can I drag? I can drag. All right, and then up on my toolbar, dimensions. Where are you? Ah, toward the middle, dimensions. Grab that line and we'll make it 1.5 by 2.5. So 1.5. Grab that line by 2.5. Good. So let's accept that sketch, rotate. Now let's click extrude. Now it wants me, it's highlighted blue, so it wants me to select a sketch or a face. Can I select it? I can select it just off of the drawing. I'm going to exit out of this. Can I select it from the feature manager? So here I can, and it'll let me do that. Cool. So blind depth, what do I also have? So up to next, I don't have any of these. I mean, because this is the first extrusion, I don't have any of these options that I can actually use, but I can do blind. But these are the same drop-down options I would get in SolidWorks. 1 inch for an 1.5 plate, that's a little thick for what we want to do, so let's drop that down to a 1/2 inch. Okay, the video or the view here updated. That's cool. Accept that. And I've got a block. So let's go ahead and drop some holes in it. Do I have a hole wizard? Fillets, holes, hole. Okay, this guy wants a sketch as well. So it looks like we have to use sketches first before we tell this software what to do with it. Again, not a deal breaker because SolidWorks does the same thing or can do the same thing. So select this top face. All right, I'm in it, face. So I am sketching. I'm not going to reorient it. Sometimes in SolidWorks for simple things I wouldn't. So let's grab the point here and drop some points in. Point, 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 point. Now I want to try to constrain these things the way I would in SolidWorks. In SolidWorks, I would constrain these vertically, these 2 pairs, and then horizontally these 2 pairs, and then start to dimension. So let's select and see what it'll let me do. Okay, that's odd. It brings up a pop-up. So what if I select that? Oop, escape. Escape. You won't let me. If I right-click, I don't have options for constraints. Click off. So escape didn't work to deselect, but clicking off does. So if I select this and I select this, oh, I see. Okay, up on my toolbar are my various constraints. So what if I grab a vertical now? Vertical, highlight it. Okay, a little vertical icon pops up. Same on that one. So I'm going to select no control. By the way, it looks like if I control click, that's when I automatically get this pop up. So click off. If I just click without control, I get both selected, and mine looks like a little 2 next to my mouse, which is kind of cool, but a little different workflow, but so far nothing earth-shattering. Let's do the same for the horizontal guys. Horizontal constraint, and these guys. Horizontal constraint. All right, and then let's throw, again, in the middle, throw some dimensions in here. I don't know what's going to be good for an 1.5-inch plate, so let's do 0.5. And then I'm going to drag these back into the plate and bring it 0.5 here from this edge. And again, I just want to create, you know, sort of my standard go-to tutorial is the 2 holes, or the 2 plates with holes, so we probably need to be further if I make those 1/4-inch holes. So can I get a half? I can. 1/2 inch might be too close if we do the top plate with counter bore. Yeah, that is going to be so. It's 375. Let's try it. All right, and I'm going to then accept that sketch. Now go to the hole and select that sketch. So drilled, okay, so it came in counter bore by default. Let's go to simple. Drilled, tapped, cool. Drop down there, straight tap, 1/4, 20, fastener fit. I don't honestly usually mess with. Start from part, diameters, termination, blind. I want it to be through all. That'll just make through holes and I don't have to worry about a depth. Tap through all. Oh, that's cool. So we could, looks like, define a thread depth as well, but tap through all. And then accept that guy. And instead of the dotted line for cosmetic threads like SolidWorks would do, it actually added some shading. It didn't cut threads with surfaces, but it added, looks like sort of a texture to the model to indicate that there are threads in those holes. So I've got that. I'm going to, over here, it says part down on my feature manager. Below the actual features, I've got parts. So can I change that name? Rename, cool. Let's call it bottom plate. Okay. Now I need to figure out how to make the top plate. So I've got looks like a hamburger menu, rename, move to document details, close document. I don't want to close it, I don't think. How do we create a new part? Is it in our parts? Do I have an option? I can't right click. What if I were to just click new tab? Create part studio. Cool. That I'm not sure works though. I don't think I want to create a new part studio. So let's delete that because I just need to get a part. And the thing that I'm going on, the thing that suggests to me, again, having used a couple of different CAD systems, that suggests to me that that's not what I wanted was the icon. The part icon is this sort of L shape here, it looks like. The part studio has 2 little towers. And I'm not sure that that's actually what I want to do. So what do I, that's to create a folder in the part. Versions, history. That's the other thing that I forgot to mention at sort of the beginning. One of the reasons I want to give this a try is they claim that Onshape has built-in versioning control. So where SolidWorks, you would need SolidWorks PDM, a separate PDM manager. It sounds like this is built into Onshape. So when we, you know, sort of modify things and rev it up. So the question remains, features and parts, we want to leave that. How do I create a new part? So if I right click down here, all kinds of stuff that I'm not sure I want to do yet. Can I, assembly 1 does not yet have anything in it. And these both, by the way, this part studio 1 and assembly 1, those were just default when I created the part. Anything over here on the right? Tables, hold tables, variables, appearance. We'll get into that and play with that later. Right now, as I fumble through the first look here, I'm trying to figure out how. What is this guy? Custom features. That I don't want to do. And there's nothing in that hamburger that looks like I can rename the document. Units, properties, so it's got some of the standard SolidWorks things. How do I create a part? Create material, create feature studio. I'm pretty sure I don't want to create a part studio. I could be wrong, and that might be exactly what I want to do. So I could copy a part, create drawing of bottom plate. I don't want to copy the part if I could help it. I would like to just create a new one. Is that a thing that's doable? That's going to jump me back out, I think, to the main menu. Yep. So if I go back in here, huh, stream of consciousness video recording, right? Where we're taking a look at a thing we've never used. That's all account stuff. Performance errors. What do we have for performance errors? Primitives, document performance, browser platform. It doesn't like something. I'll deal with that later. Right now, what is this? Create version. I don't want to do that. Well, that's interesting. Maybe I do want to create a new part studio. Seems odd to me that I wouldn't. So what happens if I do copy? Let's just copy here. Copy a new part. So I got part 2 now. Well, I'm going to accept it first. I've got part 2. Part. Click off in space. Part 2. So it's a transform. So maybe I do need a new part studio. Let's click off in space. Let's delete part 2 and try it and see what happens when we go to assemble. So I'm going to click the plus sign and create a new part studio. And I need a sketch to start. So we're starting always with sketches again. I'm going to drop my 1.5 by 2.5 rectangle. Dimension, where'd you go? Dimensions. 1.5. There we go, 2.5. So again, there's some lag, but I'm not seeing any lag that's actually causing me any issues. Again, 1/2 inch, accept, and then I need a sketch for the holes. So we're on that top plane hole. Where did you go? Oh, I need to put the points in first. So point, 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 point. Now I noticed, okay, I noticed a dotted line as I was doing that and I didn't talk through, but it automatically applied those constraints. No control, just click. And it automatically applied those constraints when I clicked with the dotted line visible. So that's a thing to maybe watch out for. SolidWorks does that a lot too, where it sort of assumes what constraint you want by where you sketch something, which can be okay. Sometimes it does get it wrong. It's just a thing to be careful of and make sure when the auto constraint things are active that it's a thing you actually want. 0.375, right, from the edges. I think 0.375, and we're going to accept that sketch. Now if I select a sketch first, can I create a hole directly from it? Where did hole go? Hole. Cool, it did. So it's still on tapped holes. So if I go to counterbore now, it updated the model. I've got counterbored holes. It'll be interesting to see. I mean, later I would drop some sort of, or try to import some screws downloaded from McMaster or something like that, or maybe model my own like I like to do, um, and see how they fit. Because again, in SolidWorks, in one of my previous videos, I mentioned they have a tendency to sort of undershoot the depth of a counterbore and a countersink so that things aren't actually below flush, the way we sort of like them to be. So that'll be interesting to see later. But for now, I'm going to accept this, and I've got 2 parts. Kind of cool. So far in the modeling, it's really, I mean, just a workflow thing is to do the sketch. Make sure you do the sketching first instead of expecting to be able to create a sketch after creating the feature. But other than that, so far, I mean, the functionality is almost identical to SolidWorks. I'm starting to believe there's some truth in that. I don't even know if it's a rumor. I mean, it could be a fact. I honestly didn't really look it up after I heard it, but there's probably truth that this was developed by some of the folks that originally developed SolidWorks. So I'm going to go ahead and call this video here, this first look, and we'll pick it up in the next video and try to put these things together. So as always, thank you for watching, and I look forward to seeing you back here for another video.